My name is Emily, and I'm 34. I'm what my family calls the ordinary one. It's not an insult, not exactly. It's just a statement of fact, delivered with a sigh of gentle, pitying disappointment. My older sister, Jessica, is a high-powered partner at a law firm in Chicago, has a 4.0 GPA husband, 2 perfect kids, and a house that looks like it was ripped from a Restoration Hardware catalog. My younger brother, Ben, is the creative visionary, a 28-year-old entrepreneur who is perpetually launching a new startup, usually from our parents' couch, and who bleeds my father's retirement account dry with his charm. And me? I'm just Emily. I'm a research scientist. I live in a 600-square-foot rental apartment in Boston. I wear lab coats and safety goggles. I spend my days in a windowless basement lab, staring at protein sequences on a monitor. I am, in their eyes, hopelessly, terminally stuck. I've spent my entire life as the quiet, reliable, invisible background character in their loud, shiny lives. I'm the one they call for sensible advice, which they ignore, the one they forget to include in fancy vacation plans, and the one whose birthday apparently is just another Tuesday. Yesterday was my 34th birthday. They forgot. All of them. In the evening, I called home, hoping for a surprise, and instead walked into a family FaceTime call, where they were popping champagne to celebrate Ben's brilliant new idea for an artisanal kombucha company. When I finally, quietly, reminded them what day it was, my mother had the audacity to say, "Oh honey, you know we're so busy. Besides, what is there to celebrate? Jessica just made partner. Ben is doing something with his life. We just worry about you, dear. You're just so ordinary." They hung up, and I sat there, alone in my stuck little life, surrounded by 8 years of my life's work. I was shattered. I was the family failure. Then, 2 hours later, my phone exploded. It wasn't my family. It was the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the AP Wire. It turns out, that same night, in a glittering gala in Geneva I wasn't even invited to, my ordinary research was awarded the National Medical Foundation's Harrington Prize, a prize that comes with a $3 million grant, and is, in my field, nicknamed the Nobel before the Nobel. My family, it seems, missed the live stream, but they saw the 10 o'clock news, and now, my phone won't stop ringing. They're so proud. They always knew I had it in me. They're planning a huge party. They're suddenly very interested in my little lab project. They think I'm the same, gullible, ordinary daughter. They have no idea that the girl who was begging for their approval yesterday is gone. And the woman who just picked up the phone, she's not here to celebrate with them. She's here to collect. This one is for anyone who has ever been made to feel small by the people who were supposed to be your biggest fans. If you're here for the quiet revenge, hit that subscribe button. And let me know in the comments, what's the one ordinary thing about you that's actually your superpower? To say I was the black sheep of the Walker family wouldn't be accurate. Black sheep are, at least, noticeable. I was more like the beige sheep, the one in the back of the herd that no one ever really paid attention to, but who was expected to just keep on producing wool without making a fuss. My entire life was a study in beige. I was born 3 years after Jessica, the golden girl, the prodigy, the one who was reading at a 4th grade level in kindergarten. She was the A+, the debate team captain, the one who went to Yale Law and never, not once, looked back. She was my parents' show pony, the one they trotted out at dinner parties. You must hear what Jessica did in her mock trial. My father, a man who worshipped at the altar of financial and public success, saw her as his greatest achievement. Then, 2 years after me, Ben was born. And he was the miracle. He was the surprise, the boy, the charmer. He was a whirlwind of charisma and chaos, a kid who could fail 3 classes, crash my dad's car into a neighbor's mailbox, and somehow end up with a new set of golf clubs, and a lecture on how, quote, boys his age just have so much energy. He was my mother's darling. She was the president, CEO, and sole member of the Ben Walker fan club, convinced his unique perspective on the world was just a few $1,000s of my father's money, away from becoming the next big thing. And then there was me, Emily, the sensible one. I was the buffer zone between their 2 shining, high-maintenance stars. I was the one who got good grades, but not brilliant grades like Jessica. I was the one who was creative, but not a visionary like Ben. I was just good old reliable Emily. I went to the State University. They were strapped from Jessica's Yale tuition and Ben's startup seed money. I got a scholarship, which was, nice honey, now you won't have to worry us with loans. I got my PhD in molecular biology, which my mother referred to as you still being in school. My work isn't flashy. I don't disrupt industries like Jessica, and I don't ideate like Ben. I work in a small, underfunded university lab in Boston, in a windowless basement room that smells like ozone and old coffee. For the last 8 years, I have been meticulously, painstakingly, and quietly studying the specific protein-folding mechanisms in early-onset Alzheimer's. It's slow, tedious, frustrating work. It's a field of failure, of 999 dead ends for every one tiny incremental step forward. I chose it because my grandmother, my dad's mom, and the one person who ever really saw me had it. I watched her, the sharpest, funniest woman I ever knew, dissolve into a terrified, confused stranger. And I had, in my sensible, quiet way, sworn that I would spend my life fighting the monster that had eaten her mind. But to my family, my life's work was a hobby, a waste of a good brain. All that school, my dad would say, his voice heavy with disappointment. And you're making less than your sister's intern. When are you going to get a real job, Emily? A real job meant a corporate job. It meant a 6-figure salary, a high-rise condo, a German car. My life, my 600-square-foot rental, my 10-year-old Toyota, my 12-hour days in a lab, was to them a profound personal failure. And they were not quiet about it. Yesterday was my 34th birthday. I knew, rationally, that I shouldn't expect anything. But that stupid, hopeful, 8-year-old kid inside me still hoped. Maybe this year. I called them in the morning. Hey guys, just checking in. Oh, hi, honey, my mom said, her voice distracted. Listen, can I call you back? Your father and I are just dealing with a crisis. Ben's car, the one we just got him, he was in a little fender bender. He's fine, thank God, but the other driver is being so dramatic. And I listened for 10 minutes as she detailed the crisis of Ben's insurance rates. My birthday was never mentioned. I tried Jessica. Her text reply came 2 hours later. In court. Can't talk. Also, Mom says Ben needs a lawyer for this car thing. Do you know a cheap one? Don't have him call my firm. I spent the day at the lab, my work a welcome, logical refuge. At 8 p.m., I finally gave up and called them again, this time on FaceTime. They all picked up. They were at a restaurant. A nice restaurant, the kind with white tablecloths. And there was a cake. A small, decadent chocolate lava cake with a single, sputtering candle. My heart, that stupid, traitorous organ, leaped. Oh, I said, a smile breaking out on my face. You guys are out? And a cake? My mother looked confused. What? Oh, this. She laughed. A light, airy sound. We're celebrating. Your brother, you'll never guess. He finished his business plan. He's officially registering the LLC for his new kombucha company, Ben Lightenment. Isn't that wonderful? Your father and I are just so proud of his initiative. To our brilliant boy, my father said, raising his champagne glass to the camera. Ben, on your new venture. Ben, his face flushed with unearned pride, grinned at me through the phone. Pretty cool, right, Em? I'm finally an entrepreneur. I just stared. They were toasting my brother for finishing a business plan for a kombucha company, and I broke. It's my birthday, I whispered. The screen froze. The smiles faltered. What, honey? My mom asked, her face tight. It's my birthday, I said, my voice louder now, shaking with a cold, hollow rage. Today, it's my 34th birthday. Did any of you even know that? The silence was deafening. I saw Jessica, who was clearly at the dinner too, roll her eyes at the ceiling. I saw my father look down, his face flushing with the dull red of embarrassment. I saw Ben just look blank. Oh, honey, my mother finally said, her voice full of that brittle, fake sympathy. You know how busy we've been with Ben. And you never make a big deal about your birthday, because you've never remembered it. I snapped, the dam of 34 years finally breaking. You've never once remembered it without me reminding you. You throw a party because Ben registered a website, but my entire life is just a footnote. Well, honestly, Emily, Jessica cut in, her voice bored and sharp. Are we really still doing this? You're a grown woman. We're busy. You know how much pressure I'm under at the firm. You know Ben is at a critical stage. You're not exactly top of mind. You never do anything. I work, I said, my voice rising to an almost scream. I'm a scientist. I'm working on something important. Oh, we know, my mother said, her voice turning from sympathetic to condescending in a heartbeat. You're in your little lab, and that's nice, dear. But what is there to celebrate? We're worried about you. Jessica is a partner at her firm. Ben is starting a business. You're 34, and you're still in a tiny rental apartment, making a teacher's salary, and frankly, you're stuck. You're ordinary. And we just want more for you. Ordinary. I stared at her, at my whole family, my sister, the success, my brother, the visionary, my parents, the proud enablers. They were all looking at me through the screen with the same unified expression. Pity. I didn't say anything. I didn't yell. I pressed the red end call button. I turned off my phone. I sat there, in the quiet of my stuck little life, surrounded by 8 years of my life's work. The complex protein models, the stacks of genomic data, the failed test results, the one, single, beautiful, successful one. I was shattered. I was completely, utterly, and finally, broken. I looked at the clock. 8:50 p.m. My phone, which I'd forgotten to put on silent, buzzed. A single text alert from my lab director, Dr. Walsh. Livestream starting in 10, Emily. Good luck. You deserve this. Right. The gala, the Harrington Prize, the one I had been nominated for and had dismissed as a long shot. I'd been so consumed by my family's drama, I had almost forgotten. I opened my laptop, pulled up the live stream from Geneva, and, in my running shorts and old college sweatshirt, I opened a bottle of lukewarm, half-flat Prosecco from my fridge. Happy birthday to me. The live stream from Geneva was almost comical in its glamour. It was a world I didn't belong to. The ballroom was a sea of glittering gowns, perfectly tailored tuxedos, and faces I recognized from the covers of scientific journals and philanthropy magazines. A string quartet was playing. It was a million miles away from my cluttered Boston apartment, with its stacks of mail and my sad, wilting basil plant on the windowsill. I watched, feeling a profound sense of detachment, like I was watching a nature documentary about a species I'd never meet. I was a nominee for the Harrington Prize for Innovation in Medical Research. It was, in my field, the equivalent of winning an Oscar and a Nobel Peace Prize at the same time. But I knew I wasn't going to win. The other nominees were giants. There was Dr. Eris Thorne from Harvard, who had just pioneered a revolutionary CRISPR-based gene therapy. There was Dr. Lena Petrova from Johns Hopkins, who had developed a breakthrough in nanorobotics for cancer treatment. And then there was Dr. Emily Walker from a small but dedicated university lab for her novel work in protein markers. I was the diversity pick, the Isn't It Cute She Tried nominee. I took a swig of the flat Prosecco. My phone, which I'd turned back on out of some morbid curiosity, was a graveyard. No new messages from my family. Not an "Are you okay?" or a "Sorry we're assholes." Just silence. They had celebrated Ben's business plan and moved on. I was already forgotten. I turned my attention back to the laptop. A very famous, very handsome actor was on stage now, hosting the awards segment. He was talking about the Harrington Prize. A prize, he was saying, his voice smooth as velvet, given not just for a single discovery, but for the process. For the researcher whose work represents a fundamental shift in how we approach human suffering. For the one whose quiet, patient, and often ordinary work leads to the most extraordinary of outcomes. Ordinary. The word hit me like a small, sharp slap. I almost laughed. Even here, at a gala in Geneva, I was the ordinary one. The actor continued. This year's nominees are, as always, titans. But the prize committee was unanimously struck by the work of one researcher. Work that was conducted not in a billion-dollar, corporate-sponsored high-rise, but in a small, basement-level university lab. Work that took 8 years of meticulous, frustrating, and often overlooked research. Work that has, in the last 6 months, proven to be the key we have all been searching for. A simple, inexpensive, reliable blood test. A diagnostic tool that can identify Alzheimer's disease at stage 0, decades before the first symptoms ever appear. My breath caught. He was talking about my work. This discovery, the actor said, his voice full of a new, genuine awe, will not just change the way we treat this devastating disease, it will change the way we prevent it. It will save not just millions of lives, but millions of minds. The Harrington Prize and the $3 million research grant goes to Dr. Emily Walker. I just stared. The room, my apartment, went completely silent in my head. I could see the people on the screen applauding, but I couldn't hear them. I just heard my name, Dr. Emily Walker. The live stream cut to the pre-recorded nominee video they'd had me film a month ago. And suddenly, my face was on the screen. My tired, makeup-free, lab coat-wearing face, talking awkwardly about protein-folding anomalies. And the actor's voice was over it. Dr. Walker, who is watching from her lab in Boston tonight, couldn't be with us, as she is in the middle of a critical new phase of her research. A polite, beautiful lie my boss, Dr. Walsh, had insisted on, just in case. I was still just staring, my glass halfway to my lips, when my phone, sitting on the coffee table, exploded. I don't mean it buzzed. I mean it detonated. It was a simultaneous, shrieking, vibrating cacophony of incoming data. It was like a bomb had gone off. It lit up the dark apartment with its frantic, strobing light. It was so loud, so violent, that it physically startled me, and I slopped Prosecco all over my sweatshirt. The world had just found out. I was not ordinary. I was not stuck. I was, apparently, a goddamn genius. I walked over to the phone, my legs feeling like they were full of cotton. It was unusable, a brick of nonstop incoming notifications. But I could see the names flashing on the locked screen, one after another, in a frantic, desperate waterfall. Mom, missed call. Jessica, missed call. DAD, missed call. Ben, what is this? Call me. Mom, Emily, honey, call me. I think I just saw you on the news. Jessica, what is this Harrington Prize thing? Is that real? Is that thing you're always tinkering with? Dad, Emily. Call home. Immediately. Ben, bro, $3 million? Mom, your father and I are so proud. We are weeping. We always knew you had it in you. We were just saying what a quiet genius you are. The lie. The blatant, shameless, instantaneous lie. They weren't worried. I was stuck an hour ago. They were bored by me. The notifications just kept coming. The New York Times. The Boston Globe. Forbes. My university's PR department. My old mentors. My ex-boyfriends. The world, it seemed, had suddenly remembered my name. I just looked at the phone, at the hysterical, desperate, greedy scramble of my family trying to reclaim me, to rewrite the narrative in real time. I looked at the texts from my mother, the woman who had, not 2 hours ago, called me an ordinary failure, now claiming she had always known. I watched it happen. I watched the world they valued, the world of money, of fame, of success, discover me. And I felt absolutely nothing. Not joy, not triumph, not even satisfaction. Just a profound, quiet, and bottomless emptiness. The validation I had been subconsciously craving my entire goddamn life. It had finally arrived. And it was worthless. It meant nothing, because it was coming from them, and they were liars. I looked at the phone, still buzzing like a dying insect. Jessica, missed call. Mom, missed call. I took a slow, deep breath. I pressed the small, silver button on the side of the phone. The one that silences everything. The one that turns the world off. I hit Do Not Disturb. Then, I went back to the couch. I turned off the laptop, cutting off the sound of the applause from a world I didn't belong to. I sat there, in my small, quiet, ordinary apartment. I poured the last of the flat Prosecco into my glass. And for the first time in my entire life, I truly, deeply smiled. I woke up the next morning on my couch, my neck stiff, the apartment cold with the gray, pre-dawn light. My first thought was, I dreamed it. I dreamed it all. The gala, the prize, the everything. It was just a weird, stress-induced, birthday-fueled fantasy. Then I saw my phone. It was sitting on the coffee table, a dark, silent rectangle. But the small, green notification light was blinking with a steady, relentless, accusing rhythm. I had 172 unread text messages, 64 missed calls, 41 new voicemails. It wasn't a dream. I picked up the phone like it was a venomous snake. I had to face it. I opened the texts. It was a masterclass in narcissistic whiplash, a perfect, chronological record of my family's panic, greed, and breathtaking hypocrisy. 10:02 p.m. Mom, Emily, honey, call me. I think I just saw you on the news. Is this a joke? 10:03 p.m. Jessica, what is this Harrington Prize? Is that real? Since when are you a pioneer? 10:05 p.m. Ben, WTFEM? 3 million? Call me. 10:15 p.m. Dad, your mother and I are very proud. We knew you had it in you. We've always supported your work. Call us. Supported my work? I thought. By calling it a hobby for 8 years? 10:30 p.m. Mom, your father and I are we are weeping, so proud. We were just telling the Martins last week that our Emily was a quiet genius. We always believed in you, honey. A lie so blatant it made my stomach turn. 10:45 p.m. Jessica, hey Em. Just wanted to, apologize for that call earlier. We were just, teasing. We should definitely get together to celebrate your birthday. And your prize. Seriously, Em, call me. We should talk. I've actually been thinking of moving into venture capital. We should really discuss your project. The pivot from stuck to project, from ordinary to venture capital. It took her less than an hour. 11:30 p.m. Ben. Hey sis, so seriously. Mom is crying, says you hate us now. You don't hate us, right? LOL. But for real, that $500 I needed for my car, is that, like, still a no? Or winking face. 1 a.m. Mom. Emily. I'm getting worried. Please call me. Your father is very upset. We just want to celebrate with you. We're planning a huge party for you when you come home. 3 a.m. Jessica. Seriously, Em. Stop being so dramatic and pick up the phone. It's just a prize. Don't let it get to your head. We're still your family. 6 a.m. Dad. We're booking a flight to Boston for this weekend. They were coming. Of course they were. They weren't coming to celebrate me. They were coming to claim it. The money, the prestige, the new, shiny, successful daughter. They could finally show off. But as I read the texts, one after another, the old familiar knot of anxiety, the desperate need for their approval, was just gone. It wasn't hollow anymore. It was cold. I felt like a scientist, observing a colony of very predictable, very greedy bacteria. I saw their patterns. I saw their motivations. And they were so transparent, so ordinary. The phone rang in my hand. My mother. I stared at the screen. And for the first time in my life, I felt power. I let it ring. And ring. And ring. Then, I hit decline. A new text popped up instantly. Mom, why aren't you answering? We're your family. I typed a single, simple reply. I'm busy. I have work to do. Then, I did what I should have done a decade ago. I went to her contact. I blocked her. I blocked her number. I blocked her on every social media platform. Then, I did my father's. Then, Jessica's. Then, Ben's. A profound, absolute, and beautiful silence filled my apartment. My phone rang again. A number I didn't recognize. I answered, my guard up. Hello? Dr. Walker? Dr. Emily Walker? The voice was professional, energetic. This is David Chen from the New York Times Science Desk. My God, congratulations. We are all just stunned by your discovery. I know you must be inundated, but I was hoping you'd be willing to give us an exclusive interview. My real life was starting. I spent the next 2 days in a whirlwind. My boss, Dr. Walsh, showed up at my apartment with 2 giant coffees and a lawyer. You're a target now, Emily, he said, his voice kind but firm. This kind of money, this kind of fame, it brings out the sharks. And sometimes, those sharks are your own family. He helped me navigate the media requests, the university's frantic attempts to claim me, the sudden, overwhelming wave of attention. And through it all, my family was going insane. They couldn't reach me, so they were going through other channels. They started calling Dr. Walsh. They called the university's PR department. They even, according to a furious text from my ex-boyfriend, started calling him, asking for my new number. Jessica, in a move of spectacular tone deafness, flew to Boston. She just showed up. At my lab. I was in the middle of a meeting with Dr. Walsh and the Dean of Medicine, discussing the logistics of the new $3 million grant, when my assistant buzzed me. Dr. Walker, there's a woman here who claims to be your sister? She's very insistent. I walked out to the reception area, and there she was. Jessica, looking flawless in a $2,000 business suit, holding 2 lattes. She said, her smile wide and completely fake. My God, I've been trying to reach you. You just disappeared. We were so worried. Were you? I asked, my voice flat. I didn't move to hug her. I didn't smile. I just stood there. Yes, of course. God, look at this place, she said, glancing around the sterile, academic hallway with a flicker of distaste. So, this is it, huh? Listen, Em. We have to talk. I have a major proposal for you. I've already spoken to some of my colleagues, and with your discovery, and my legal and financial acumen, we could build a company. We could monetize this, Em. We could be talking billions, not just this little prize. I just looked at her hungry eyes, at her predatory smile. She wasn't here to apologize. She wasn't here to celebrate my birthday. She was here to pitch me, to co-opt my life's work and turn it into another asset in her portfolio. Wow, I said finally. You've been here for less than 2 minutes, and you've already tried to monetize my research. That's gotta be a record, even for you, Jessica. Her smile faltered. I'm just trying to help you, Emily. You don't understand this world. The world of money, of real success. You're a scientist. You're ordinary. You need someone like me to handle the real work? I finished for her. No, I don't. I turned to the security guard at the desk. This woman is trespassing. Please escort her out. What? Jessica shrieked, her face turning an ugly shade of red. You can't. I'm your sister. No, I said, turning my back on her, walking back towards my lab. You're not. You're just a bad investment. I didn't watch them walk her out. I had work to do. But the final confrontation was still to come. I had to go home. I had to clean out my childhood bedroom, a room they had, I'd learned, been using as storage for Ben's failed business inventory. I had to sever the last tie. I flew home 2 weeks later, unannounced. I let myself into the house I grew up in, and they were all there. Mom, Dad, Ben, waiting for me. It was an ambush. Emily, my mother cried, rushing at me. You're here. You're not answering our calls. We've been destroyed. Jessica called. She said, you had her thrown out. I did, I said, putting my bag down. She was trespassing. But she's your sister. My mom wailed. We're your family. How could you? After we've been telling everyone how proud we are. We're planning your party. We need to discuss your finances. The prize money. No, I said, my voice quiet, but it cut through her hysteria like a scalpel. We don't, because it's gone. The room went dead silent. What do you mean, gone? My dad asked, his voice sharp. I mean it's gone, I said. The $3 million grant? That goes directly to the university, to build a new, independent research center. It was never my money. And the prize, the $500,000 personal prize that came with it. I donated it. You donated it? Ben sputtered, his face a mask of pure, horrified disbelief. All of it? To what? To the Alzheimer's Foundation my grandmother used to volunteer for, I said. In her name. It's all gone. There's nothing to invest. There's nothing to manage. I'm just the same ordinary, stuck daughter I was 3 weeks ago. My salary is the same. My apartment is the same. The only thing that's changed is that I'm no longer interested in funding your lives. My mother just stared at me, her mouth opening and closing, no sound coming out. But the company, Jessica shrieked. She was on my dad's iPad, on FaceTime. They had planned this. They were all in on it. The company Jessica was going to build. The billions. There is no company, Jessica, I said, looking at her pixelated, furious face. There is just my work, my research, which I will continue to do in my ordinary little lab. You idiot, Ben finally roared. You had everything. We could have had everything. You did this just to spite us. No, Ben, I said, looking at him, at my father, at my mother, at the sister on the screen. And I finally felt the last, cold chain of their expectations break. I didn't do it to spite you. I did it because it was never yours. It was mine, and my work, my life, is not a venture for you to monetize. It's not a slush fund to pay for your cars or your kombucha companies. And it is not a solution to the fact that you are all terrified of living your own ordinary lives. I turned and walked to the door. By the way, I said, the monthly help for Ben, that's over. The loans for his ventures, also over. My wallet, as of today, is permanently closed. You all said it yourselves. It's time he built some character. I'm just helping. I walked out. I didn't look back. I got in my rental car, and as I drove away, I saw my mother run out onto the porch, her face a mask of pure, uncomprehending rage. I kept driving. I am back in Boston. My life is quiet. It's ordinary. It's mine. My phone is silent, blissfully silent. My family, they are, I'm sure, still screaming into the void, furious that their ordinary ATM has finally, permanently gone offline. They wanted a celebration. They wanted a success story. They got one. Just not the one they were expecting.